Hi, everybody. Hey, welcome to the Profit Tool Belt podcast. I'm glad to have you back. Today, we're going to talk about money. Money. Actually, we're going to be talking to Jill Frillman. Now, Jill Frillman is a specialist bookkeeper, accounting firm that deals with contractors and construction. And today, we're going to be talking about how to pay yourself first. So Jill Frillman's a specialist in the pay yourself first method, which many of you have heard of before from the Mike Michalowicz book, Profit First. But I want to get into it with her and talk a little bit more about the reality, like what we need to do in the field to get ourselves started. Because a lot of it comes down to just getting organized, right? Just getting yourself organized. So you're going to hear from Jill, I hope, some of the parts about getting started, some real stories. I've asked her to have some real stories with us about that today. So let's get into the episode with Jill Frillman from Winmore Accounting on how to pay yourself first as a contractor. Jill Frillman, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic. How are you, Dom?
I'm great. So nice to be back on with you. I love your energy. You're always like...
Yeah, you had to turn your volume down for me, didn't you?
I did at the beginning. Yeah. You're not your normal bookkeeper. I will have to say that.
I hear that a lot.
Do you?
Yep, I do.
You've been a bookkeeper since you were a kid. Like it was your thing since you were... I was reading your website and for those of you who don't know, Jill's website is, what is it? Winmore Accounting?
Mm-hmm.
Winmore Accounting. I went there to do my research and there's this little story under the Contact Us page that says I was a little girl in pigtails, redhead girl in pigtails, selling stuff door to door. And it's a nice story.
Yeah, that was me from the age of about 5, honestly. I was the youngest of 4 kids and I was selling all kinds of things door to door. At 5, I was just doing like newspapers.
You're right.
Yeah, but then I was eventually doing Krispy Kreme donuts before they were all over the place with my little red wagon. Yep, absolutely.
So you've always had this entrepreneur, this business owner's grr.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Well, you're not here today to talk about Krispy Kreme donuts and your little red wagon. Jill Frillman, who the heck are you? And how is it that you come to be speaking to all these contractors all over the world?
Well, Dom, I am surprised we've never met before because I'm quite a big deal. Like, this is how I started in the industry. Like, forget bookkeeping. I started with a home builder.
Really?
Yep. I was dating a guy. He worked for a home builder in Washington, D.C. I knew accounting. He needed books. I got in there, did job costing and all kinds of fancy accounting for him while he built homes. And from there, I started doing the books for lots of contractors, the plumber, the electrician, the masonry, and that's all I've done for the last 20 plus years in the Washington, D.C. area. And we have clients all over the U.S. So you're in that industry. Yeah, I'm surprised we never met.
Well, we have met though. Here we are today.
Okay, great. Perfect.
Yeah. And you run an accounting / bookkeeping firm in that industry, in the industry specifically for, I can't talk today, for contractors. Yes. And also you're trained in the Profit First system. And I've had Mike Michalowicz on the show before.
Awesome.
I'm a huge fan of the Profit First system, but that's also under your belt as a certification.
Correct. Yes, I'm one of their longest term member, because I will not say oldest member, longest term member as a Profit First professional, almost 8 years.
Oh, wow. Good.
Yep. Not new to it.
Not new to it. Yeah. No. I had Mike was on the show with me because he and I, we met at an event actually in Frankfurt, Germany. He was speaking.
Oh.
Yeah. And then I heard him say something and he talked about a town where one of his parents is from in Italy. It's a small little hillside village and it's the same town my mom's from.
Okay.
How random is that?
That's very random.
Yeah. And Michalowicz is not an Italian name. So I think it must've been his mom's side. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyways, it was great to have him on the show. I've been a fan of his since The Pumpkin Plan and another book he wrote. Anyways, let's get back to you. I want to ask you, you're really good at understanding how do I pay myself first? And a lot of contractors out there, as you know, they're busy, but they're not profitable. They're not actually getting paid. And can I go one level deeper?
Sure.
It's not so much about them not getting paid. I can't afford my kids' braces. We can't get away on vacation. I'm working harder than ever before. I'm not making any money. I made more money when it was just me and one other guy. That's what I actually hear. I know we round it up and say how do I pay myself first? But that's what I actually hear from the people who take my courses. How about I put that in your hands for opening the discussion?
Yeah, that's incredibly common. A lot of these guys are really great tradesmen.
Mm.
And they have an idea that, hey, I can build a deck or an addition for, a homeowner. And so what do? They go buy a truck, they get some tools, they get all excited, right? They're very capable, they get materials, they build these beautiful, additions or whatever. And then they get so much more work that they start hiring their friends or start hiring subcontractors. And what happens is they just get way involved in the projects that they're not really counting the cost of any of them. And so therefore they're just surviving by paying those guys that are coming out and helping them to get going, keep the jobs going. And they just keep, they're feeding them before they feed themselves, or there's always this next draw they're waiting for. And then they're going to hit that big money.
That's right.
Because once they get the drywall up or once the electrician finished, they're going to get this next big, huge check. So it's really a matter of paying attention and really budgeting out the jobs, but also contracting them well and putting money aside for yourself on every one of those jobs. So paying yourself first, the first thing really is to set up a separate bank account where a small percentage of every amount of money that comes into your business goes directly to that, and you never see it because it just automatically either gets transferred over or because you physically do it.
Sometimes, and it doesn't matter what trade, but sometimes I'll remind people, you have to look at your profit as an expense. Like now I'm open to you correcting me because I'm not you. I noticed your eyes just rolled. You were like, oh, brother, here's another one. But I'm trying to simplify things because it doesn't matter if somebody's a cabinet maker or they're a kitchen renovator, or like you said, they're a mason or a landscaper. It doesn't matter. We're just chasing the project. We're not running it like a true business,
right?
Because we don't feel we can. And yet there's systems to help you do that. And your accounting system obviously is a massive pillar of running it properly.
No, that's absolutely true. Or you spend too much time making decisions on that business by opening up an app on your phone that's called a bank app that says, ooh, I got money today. I'll go buy another truck, or I'll go buy that new piece of equipment so I can do Mrs. Smith's work faster or build those cabinets, or I'll go get more warehouse space because, then maybe I could do more work. Right. And no one's ever really sitting down with you to help you to plan out and to forecast and to understand your fixed costs and making sure that you're paying yourself. Instead, you're making all these decisions on a little app that you look at every morning and night. If there's money, you make one decision. If there's no money, you make a different decision. And at the end, you're not getting really paid that well.
Yeah. I hate to say this, but I'm going to tell you what I think we're hearing from everybody else listening.
Okay.
It's a room full of buts.
But, oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Have you heard that? Like, but you don't understand. But
oh yeah. Yeah, I can't get a deposit on that job. No, they're not going to give it to me. I'll lose the work. I won't get it if I don't get a deposit. Or, material costs went up, or there was a mistake, so I had to eat it. I had to do it, and it's just there's project management that has to be done along with financial management.
Where do you? So let's say you were starting me as paint the picture of me as a brand new client of yours. What would I look like? And then what I'd like you to do is take me back to how we're going to start, what you're going to find out and how we're going to start.
If you were a client coming on of ours.
Yeah, I'm a contractor. Let's say I'm a home renovator, or, I do kitchen and bath renovations.
Or cabinets,
that touches on or cabinets. It touches on a ton of trades. There could be any trade.
Well, so there's a number of things. If you were coming to me, I'd want to know why. What are you looking for?
I'm not making any money. We're busy, but I'm not profitable.
So how long have you been in business?
This is our 7th year. My wife's been doing our books, but she's tired of it.
Okay.
And it takes her forever to do year end. We're always chasing things, and it never seems like it's clean.
So what was your revenue for 2021?
It was 800,000.
What's your average job size?
About 40 grand.
And how many jobs are you doing a year?
Well, now I have to at 20.
Okay.
I'm making this up here, right?
That's okay. So you're doing about 20 projects a year, about 40K each. How long do each of those take you to do?
Well, that's the problem. They don't all take the same amount of time.
Okay.
I've got 2 crews and I use a lot of subs so I can, I can grow or shrink as I need to.
So why now are you concerned about this? If you've been in business for 7 years, why are you now concerned?
It's funny. It's my kids are getting older. My daughter needs braces and we can't pay for it. It's been about 6 years since we took a vacation.
Oh, wow.
And I got to change some major equipment. Like our truck is on its last legs, our last tires. I think the worst thing is I can't afford my daughter's braces.
So if you did $800,000 in 2021, we have 2 months left in 2022. What's 2022 going to look like for you? Are you doing better or worse than 800,000?
You know what? I think we did about 800 grand the year before that too. So I'll bet you this year we do same as last year. We're probably we're probably stuck again this year.
So you're going pretty flat. So again, braces are a big thing, right? But that's a few $1,000s. It must be more that, you're not making the money you want to make in this business. And is this the only income for the family?
Yeah. It's my company and this is how we get by. We've done well, but it just seems like lately we're not doing as well. To be honest, I was doing better when it was just me.
So I hear a lot of I thinks. Are you looking at your financial statements every week? Are you looking at a profit and loss statement or an income statement so you can see actually how you're doing?
Can I just be very honest here?
Mm-hmm.
I look at the numbers, but they don't really make sense to me.
Okay. I get that.
Like I understand an estimate. I can tell you what it's going to cost to demolish a kitchen and how much it's going to be to drywall. And if mudding or plastering is, if I'm getting a crazy quote from a subcontractor, but I've been a carpenter my whole life. I don't read financial statements.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Am I oversharing here?
No, this is very common. Because you guys are so good at the craft, right?
Yeah.
And you are passionate about the craft and you're passionate about the work you do and you want it happy clients or customers, usually the homeowners. What I find is working with your industry is by meeting with you once a month or once a quarter and helping you understand those numbers, helping you to see where you're bleeding money, and having good financial systems in place and helping you to manage the cash that is coming in as it's coming in and not waiting till the end of the year just for a tax return.
Yeah.
Helps our clients, gives clarity, peace of mind, and it helps you to be more profitable. And it actually makes you feel more like a business owner too, and less like just a craftsman. So you start to run it as a business and less like a tradesman. Yeah,
I think I've been flirting with running it like a business person. I listened to this fantastic podcast. with called Profit Tool Belt or Cabinet Maker Profit System. Great shows. I highly recommend. Thank you, Jill, by the way. That was not scripted for us to do that little role play.
You're welcome.
But I wonder how many people listening can relate to that. And, I said daughter's braces, but it could be anything. For more and more for people, we're finding ourselves, we have to take care of aging parents. And suddenly there's additional time, just for the paperwork and for the love, but also the responsibility financial it might be to put them in a home or to take care of them in some sort of other treatments. And those are real issues. I hear about them. You probably do as well. We're not going to go down that path, but let's talk about the changes that we need to make in our business. And let's keep it as simple as we can. Somebody listening now who's like, oh my God, that interview was just with me. What do I do to start? And I know you mentioned a few, but let's go back to them. What do I do to get started on the changes?
I would say short of, engaging in somebody that can help you to understand your numbers is to know that you can't just keep running with what you think is happening. You need to know actually what is happening and take the emotion out of running a business and get real numbers. Numbers don't lie. They really tell the story of how well you're doing. But what often happens is people are afraid or they feel shamed to come to me. Like they're embarrassed. They're embarrassed because they're like, I'm probably not doing very well. So it's embarrassing. So it's their pride. Or it's such a mess. I bet they've never seen anything as bad as this. which is both super untrue because I've been doing this for over 20 years. There's just so many fears that go into opening up. Look, your numbers, that it's personal, right? Finances are personal. And to have somebody come in and tell you about them is very personal. So you just have to be willing to look at it more as like a finance coach coming into your life and engaging with you and handling that piece, because every business has those top headers, right? You've got operations, you've got finances, you've got sales and marketing. And if you don't have a strong team on all four of those, then you really aren't running a business. So we are just one piece of that to make it strong for you.
That's right. And people, everybody listening is at a different place in their company. They're working towards making it stronger. One of the things, and other people who've listened to the show before have heard me say this, that it's funny how money is cold. So, money's cold. It's dead. It's dispassionate. It doesn't care. But talking about money, why does that get so hot?
That gets very emotional.
It gets very emotional. And this is very insensitive of me to say, but getting started on changing your business, for anybody listening, it's like taking a fat kid to the gym. It doesn't matter what they do. If they're on the treadmill, if they decide to swim or ride a bike or run, it doesn't matter. And I'm saying that on purpose to be in somebody's face. Get started. Right. For me, I think I would go back and look at the quality and the profitability and the estimates. Make sure I'm putting good business into the company. Like, if I feel like I have an unhealthy body, I should probably start to eat healthier, like put good nutrients in so I get better results in my body. Right. And then I have to count things nicely.
Yeah. So job costing comes into play, right? First, you get a good set of financial pictures for the whole company, and then you can dig down by jobs and really look at each of the jobs, look at how much you estimated out, how much, it actually costs. That's really key.
Yeah. It's difficult to go and count things in the business because it feels like looking backwards. Right. This is the way I look at it. Look, I've already done the Smith job. Now I'm going to go to the Hernandez job. Why I don't care. Smith is done. I'm going to, like you said, the big win is on the Hernandez job. We've got a big drywall job. We're going to make an extra $600 on that thing. And so I look at the Hernandez job and I forget about Smith. Why would I go back and count my numbers from Smith when it's already done?
Because there's so much you can learn from that Smith job.
Yes.
So much you can learn. I mean, more than you can imagine if you take that and break it out. And then once you stay ahead of those jobs and really keep that going and always looking ahead, you just continue to be more and more profitable.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm so glad you said that, because this is the first time you and I have had, a real meeting. We did a pre-meeting, but this is our first, on this show here, we talk about it as the EOJ, the end of job report. On the Smith job, I want to do an autopsy. What did we estimate? And what was our actual? And anybody listening will understand, why do I care about Smith? I know I lost money on that job. I don't need to go and revisit the pain. Well, actually you do. Because now you'll go forward on the next estimate and go, oh yeah, we're not doing that again.
The other thing I find is so much as people think of what happened or how it went, but they don't know because they don't take the time to come up and really put the numbers out there. Yeah. We have a client who engaged us. He's like, yeah, I know I did about 800,000. I know my net was like 150. I know I've got a really good idea how things are going. Well, let's tax plan with you. I can't tax plan off of hypothetical numbers. Right. If you want to learn to save on your tax bill, we have to have real numbers on an ongoing, consistent quarterly basis in order to make sure where you're actually at. So we're always planning with real numbers. Until you have that documented numbers in front of you, you're really just running hypothetically a business. Yeah. But once you get real numbers talk.
Real number, they do. And that's how I see business owners move to this quiet confidence when they have the numbers to run the business. And this might be surprising to you, Jill. I'm not a numbers guy.
No.
I love the patterns in the numbers, but you're laughing because you knew I wasn't a numbers guy.
No, so, how do you help somebody to get past it and engage in those numbers? That you don't have to love them as the business owner. You just have to understand them. And when you work with somebody who does understand, it's just like if I want you to come put an addition on my house or build me cabinets, I don't understand the work that goes into it, right? So if you quote me 50,000, I want to understand, am I getting the Cadillac version cabinets, or am I getting the Ford version cabinets?
Right.
Help me understand what you're going to do. Help me understand what this means I'm buying. Is there something better and bigger I could be buying, right? Like, I don't know. I can't, right, tell you.
I can't guess.
If
Yeah.
you come to me as a business owner, I can help you to see, are you running a Cadillac business? Or are you running a Ford business that you're going to be doing until you're 75 or 80 years old? Because there's no tax planning. There's no forecasting at all. You're just going through the motions of doing work, selling it, doing it, selling it, doing it, not ever paying yourself very well, and no planning, can't afford kids' braces, whatever, a vacation, because you're just on a treadmill.
You're running a project business. You're not running a contracting company. And I hate to be that painful, but somebody out there listening needs to hear this. You're doing no better than the first day you started, when you took a gig and thought, let's see if this works.
Right.
And then you're just tripping along. Now, the good news is there's systems to get beyond that. I work a lot in strategic planning. You work a lot in financial planning, not financial planning that we would think of, but like you're helping people run those numbers. And again, how to pay yourself first. Now you're a QuickBooks expert.
Yep. Advanced certified in QuickBooks.
Okay. So I'm not going to get into what I hear about QuickBooks Online versus the QuickBooks Desktop.
Desktop. Sure. We love QuickBooks Online.
Do you?
Absolutely.
And why not desktop?
Because you're in a mobile business, that is not a mobile software. So you have to be at a laptop or a computer, wherever that's being managed, and only one person can look in it at a time if you only have one license. QuickBooks Online, you can have other professionals helping you and coaching you and and it's mobile.
Right. So
you can do a change order or an estimate or what invoice right on the spot, right off your phone.
Yeah, there's a lot of power to QuickBooks, but I think some of the frustration here also comes back to the fact that, hey, I started this business myself. Let's continue with the renovator, kitchen and bath renovations, because that encompasses so many different sub-trades. And my wife helps me. And she's not a trained bookkeeper or financial person, but she's willing to do whatever it takes for our family to move ahead. And so she usually is helping with the books, but she's not trained in the books. You're smiling already. What problems do you see that get resolved? And we're not talking about anybody specifically here.
I say, how's that marriage working out for you? Well, I was that wife many years ago.
Oh, were you? No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
My husband eventually left the builder and started his own home improvement business. And I tell you, that was the biggest frustration of our marriage, is waiting for that next draw check, or waiting. I could do the books all night and day, right? Like that, books weren't the problem, right? I can tell you his numbers, getting receipts off of him that have a job name on it, getting the next check, the homeowner needs 3 more days because she has to transfer money. Why is that my problem, is what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah. So if it can work, if somebody is guiding, it's kind of like putting a mediator in a marriage coach. It's not, if your wife loves it and enjoys it, great. If that gives her some sense of satisfaction being a part of the business, great. Just make sure she's got the support she needs to do the job well. But if it's affecting your marriage, like I had once a woman come to my house with 2 great big green trash bag full of receipts and a baby and a playpen.
Oh no.
Because it was her job to get it done. She wasn't at all skilled or capable or interested. I mean, I shouldn't say. She was interested. She wanted to help her husband's business, but it was like, it'd come to me when it was like trash bag fulls. And then, you're overpaying in taxes because she doesn't really know what she's doing. So then you're paying too much in taxes. And then that's another layer of frustration. And also hurts the profitability of a business and a family's net worth.
And by the way, that is wasted money. That when we hear in the media that all these big cigar chomping, big hat guys don't pay their taxes, don't pay their fair share, let me be the first one to tell you that if you're listening to this show, you too could be one of those people.
Yeah.
The taxes are made so that business owners can survive and hire and employ other people. And so there are benefits to being a business owner that pass through us to allow us to employ others. So please start to look at the world a little bit differently, so you understand that as an owner, you have both rights and responsibilities. One of those rights is that you get certain tax write-offs that other people don't have because they haven't risked their time and money.
That's right. And a lot of tax accountants, guys, if you're just taking your books at the end of the year to a guy to get your tax return done, he doesn't have time to help you to strategize anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So the strategizing has to come before the year ends. And just like you may specialize in kitchen and bath and you don't do room additions, tax accountants don't all do the same thing either. They may specialize in just tax prep work and they do nothing about tax planning, except for maybe say, hey, you're going to owe in taxes. Why don't you go buy another truck or go buy a large piece of equipment,
Right.
which is not really a strategy because you have to spend money to do it. There's a lot of things you can be doing as a small business owner, as a business owner. Like you mentioned, strategies out there without even spending any more money that's already there for you to do that just aren't taught to the small business owner. Because if you go to a tax accountant only, they're doing like 4,000 tax returns. They can't get intimate into your business.
No, it is a shame that it's not a shame. It's an opportunity. There are specialists out there that can help you with anything, but you really have to know where to start with the question. I suppose anybody out there who doesn't have a clean set of books, that's one place to start.
Yeah.
If you don't have a strategic plan, that's another place to start. If you don't feel confident in the growth of your business or the direction, you have to start somewhere. And that's where you talk to either a Jill or a Dominic. I mean, it's just, right?
Yep, that's a good point. Yeah.
Let's get back to running a job efficiently.
Okay.
I understand QuickBooks has a tool for time tracking.
Yes.
You know, it used to be called T-Sheets. And then last year, I think they, I don't know, brought it in-house. It was an outside company and they bought it?
Oh yeah, T-Sheets was owned by a guy out of Idaho.
No
really
way.
Great marketing guy. Yeah, met him many times. And Intuit bought it off of them. So now it's called QuickTime.
Yeah. I can't tell you what a game changer having that time tracking, job by job time tracking has been for, I would have to say, not all of my clients, but the ones that put it in place immediately saw increased efficiency and profits just by tracking, just by knowing the Smith job took this long for this part. The Smith job took this long for that part. But knowing it, you can then look forward in the future and say, hey, we made really good money on this part, not such good money here. What do you encounter when you help people put time tracking in place through their bookkeeping?
Same thing. Usually there's a foreman and the guys below him. They don't want them taking the time to do the tracking. They want them focused on, a hammer and nail and not, that. So then it's the foreman's really busy, he'll try, but he doesn't always keep it accurate. It's just like the receipts with the job names on it, right? So you got to get buy-in from your team usually. It has to just be required.
Yeah. Well, and it's not going to be instant. Sorry, Jill, say that again.
I said, you have to understand the value of it as a business owner in order to, it's just like if you're doing OSHA training, right? If you don't believe it, you're not going to make your guys do it. So as the owner, you have to believe and see the value in order to implement it into your team, into your guys.
Yeah. And it's not going to be instant. Whether it's OSHA training or anything, or using QuickBooks or time tracking.
Right.
We're going to have to go back and revisit this quite a few times until we get it burned into the company. Yeah. Speaking of those end of job reports, like the value of looking back at the Smith job, let's just keep using Smith and Hernandez. Hernandez is the next job. Smith is this one.
Okay.
I was working with a company. Now they primarily do kitchen cabinets, but it doesn't matter. They're still in the construction trades. They had the same question for me. Why would we go back and look? We know we're doing okay. We're not doing as well as we could, but we're doing okay every job. Okay. And I said, well, let's do the end of job reports or this autopsy. Let's look at what you estimated and what the actual was. And what came to the surface, what popped out, surprised both of us. And again, I talk about the patterns in the numbers. I'm not an accounting expert. And yet I've built and sold multiple of my own companies and I coach people. You might think, well, how does this guy do that? It's because the patterns will tell me.
Okay.
The patterns will always show where there's a gap or where there's an opportunity. And so we did these end of job reports and I'm like, hey, what's going on here with the installations? And what happened was they were consistently losing money on the install side. So they knew how to run their shop. Their shop itself was very efficient. And so when they lost money on a job, they always lost it on installs. And they lost it to the tune of $2,000 every time.
Wow.
So what happened was they ended up paying to do other people's kitchens.
Yeah.
But until we found that particular little fact out, there was nowhere to start. We simply couldn't go and say, well, this is what we're going to do to improve things. We could do the generic things. But once you look at the report, you go, hey, we're coming in low on the installs. Well, now we know that our install price has to go up. There's a couple of other criteria why the installs were off by $2,000. But as long as you know that's the issue, you see the pattern break, you can go fix that pattern break.
Oh, that's powerful.
Yeah. You got to have those reports.
Yeah.
Have you got a huge success story from the whole pay yourself first, profit first format?
Oh my goodness. There's many of them.
I should have prepped you for this. Let's think about a contractor. Yeah. Let's think about a contractor who gave you lots of resistance, but now would never look back from having put this second bank account with profit in it to the side and what they can do with the money that's in there.
Well, I'm going to go with a client that I can think of who came to me, and I can't tell you if it's been 3 or 4 years or 5 years. I can't remember how long I've been working with her. It's a female. She does the books for her husband, but we're involved on a monthly basis. She still has her hands in a level of it. But anyway, she came to us with a lot of debt and just feeling like we're failures as a business owner. And read the book, met her, I guess, in like October, November. And that year she closed her business, had maybe like $20,000 in the bank, which, you know, for some people that would be amazing, but for her, it wasn't enough to support a family. By the end of the next year, they had over $80,000 in the bank. They had the money put aside for their taxes that they knew they were going to pay. And they were paying themselves now, not only a salary, but getting nice distributions.
Right.
So I still work with her on a regular basis. Every month we still meet. And every time she tells me, I feel like this business isn't doing well. I feel like this is a bad month. We're going into a bad season. It's going to be cold. We're not going to have as many jobs. Every time we had that conversation, I pull up her numbers. We go through them. She always thanks me at the end of the call and says, this is why I keep calling you. Because it feels like we're not successful until you show me how we're really doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So profit first. Yes, we have 5 or 6 bank accounts. Sometimes we have more. Sometimes we're putting away for a new truck. Right. Sometimes we're putting away for the next hire. So when someone says, I don't know if I can, can I afford to hire somebody? It's like, well, let's figure out what would that salary look like or that pay look like. Let's put that money away every week for a few months. And let's just see, can the business sustain this? So there's all these tools that we, tricks that we put into play. Like there's no cookie cutter, even though the industry might seem like it would be one size fits all. It really depends on your needs. Like, when do you want to retire? How long you want to do this? How much money does your family need, right? Depending on where you're calling me from, what kind of jobs you do, what size projects you do can vary. And we customize that to meet your goals, your needs. And it's just super exciting. We had another guy in Virginia. In fact, I think that's how you and I met. Yeah. I've been working with him for years. And I think it was last year, the year before, he said he wanted to donate, I don't remember, it was $24,000 to his church. And I was like, are you crazy? And he's like, yeah, I want to give all of basically his profit. He wanted to give the profit in the business to his church.
Yeah. He's very strong in his faith. Yeah. To go from like no profit in a business to seeing now a profit after working with us for like a year or whatever, however long that one time is he wanted to do that. It made him feel great. It's something he wanted to do and he had it to give. It wasn't coming from any made up source. It was just sitting in the account because we had been using this system with him. If we're talking about the same guy, we put the strategic plan in place and then started to work on the right client that gave us the right size and type of jobs. And then he's able to count the money and do what he wants with it. And, tithing or mission work, whatever, everybody, it's called a different thing. It doesn't matter what you want to do with it. What matters is what matters to you.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I love things like that. It's amazing when people start to realize that they're running a real business, not just a project company. And then what's really cool is when their kids come back and say, hey, Dad, I had to do a presentation at school and I was talking about what you do in the company. I can hear the pride that, oh my gosh, my kids are watching me.
Yeah.
Well, but that's going to change. That changes the direction of your last name. The legacy of your last name gets changed. When you take these changes now, you're changing the path your family is on. I mean, hey, listen, your kid's got to pick it up and run with it, but you're at least showing them what success looks like.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good. This is good. Thank you. So here's what we understand about paying yourself first. You got to be intentional about it.
Yes.
You've just got to belly up to the bar and say, look, we don't actually know what we're doing with our bookkeeping. We don't know what we're doing with our whatever systems. And then just start.
Yeah.
Just start. Yeah.
And if it's, just taking 1% of every deposit you make and putting it aside for profit, you can go to like Capital One online or Chase Bank online and open up a free bank account and just move that money over every single time you get a deposit. It's very simple and it will grow over time.
Yeah. People wonder, what we see in the market is you see a company come from nowhere and start doing a lot of marketing. You're like, why? How did they get all the money to do this marketing? They're on the radio, they're on TV, they're doing mail drops. I see them on the internet. And the answer is actually simple. And it's exactly what you and I are talking about is you set aside another account and every time you get paid, you put a little bit of money aside for marketing. Again, let's just use the number 1%. Well, when you're only doing $100,000 a year, that's not much money, but then you're doing 120 a year, and then you're doing 200 a year, and then you're doing 500 a year. Before you know it, that 1% starts to become very significant. And the more you market to the right customer for the right deals, the more you get jobs in. And now the customer of today is paying for the customer of tomorrow. Mm-hmm. That's what running a business is. We have to use all of the leverage available to us.
It's very true.
Yeah.
And 1% is just the start. We'd like to get you up to 5%.
It's whatever number it is. Yeah. Whatever number it is. Right.
So if you do nothing else, but go get one online bank account that you don't look at every day and move 1%, it's amazing how you'll be like, wow, where'd all that money come
from? It'll be there when you need it. Yeah. You'll be like, hey, I forgot about this account.
Yep.
Jill, thank you so much for being with us today. A wide ranging conversation, but obviously you've got lots of insight and experience in this. If somebody wants to find you, how in the heck do we find you?
Outside the DC area, come visit. If that's not possible, I have a website, of course. It's Winmore Accounting, and it's WIN, like a Nancy, M like a Mary, OOR, accounting.com. So it's all one word. Right outside of DC, but I have spoke to your industry all over the US. So we have clients all over the US. It doesn't matter what state you're in. We can help you out.
Yeah. And then your name, Jill Frillman. So if you're looking her up you're on LinkedIn as well. Frillman is Frillman.
Thank you. It's not Freeman. Thank you. It's Frillman. You got it right. I'm always like Freeman. I'm not Freeman. So, no, you're right. Yes.
That's just a different name. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. But I get that all the time. But yes, Jill Frillman and I'm definitely on LinkedIn also. Yes.
Yeah. Well, Jill, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. And, there was a lot of actions here for people to take. First, we gave them some dreams, like we've showed them something for the future, but also some simple actions they can take. And I didn't realize that Chase had free online accounts. Just start doing that. Yeah. Put a couple of bucks in there, get the discipline of doing this, and everything will follow. Okay. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Dom. Great.
Have a great day.
Yep. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Have a good afternoon.
Well. Thank you, Jill, for joining us here and sharing your expertise and insight. I mean, that little role play that you and I did about how you'd start off a client was so good. We didn't even script that. For those of you listening, I hope I did a good job of being that $800,000 a year, just around 2 jobs a month, kitchen and bath renovation company doing $40,000 average sale. Listen, if you're not any of those things, but you've got smaller or larger jobs, or you're doing more or less money, it's okay. Whatever you've got in your business, you need to be proud of. I've said this before, but we throw around the number. Let's say you're $1 million business. I say that all the time, and I have to stop myself. Let's put 1 million into a calculator and divide that by 12. I want you to pay attention to what that means. If you do $1 million in your business, that's $83,333 a month. And what does that actually mean? It means that you, who probably started this business from scratch or took it over from somebody else who wasn't doing $1 million, have found a way to get the world to recognize your skill and talent, and you've earned $83,000 out of the economy per month. You're a big deal. Now you're listening to the show because you want to be a bigger deal. You want to do more things. We touched on that today. My daughter needs braces is just an example. I want to take care of my parents is just an example. We all have things that are important to us. You heard about a mutual client of Jill and I who really wants to support his church. Whatever you want to do, it's your company. Whatever you want to do is what's most important, right? So Jill and I touched on a lot of foundational things. Whether you decide to call Jill first or me first, doesn't matter. You got to get started today on taking the steps in your business to move yourself forward. Only you can make that decision. We can't make it for you. We can be here. We can tell you interesting stories. We can show you the model, like this is how it works. But until you get into it, you're not going to understand how it's going to work for you, because your company is unique and you're unique. Even though our companies are kind of the same, you have a unique edge to it. Maybe you're a family business. Maybe you're a partnership. Maybe you're in the Southwest and you're not in the Northeast. See what I mean? It doesn't matter. What matters is that we're doing good business and that you as the business owner is getting what you need out of this. I want to show you simple systems. I want to help you have the quiet confidence in your business. You guys have heard me say this before, but there are 8 profit leaks that are sapping the strength, the lifeblood out of your business every single day. That end of job report that Jill and I were talking about it's a fundamental piece of growing this, turning this business around. And that's what we want to focus on, is understanding those fundamental pieces and how you can use those. Well, let's use a construction analogy. It's going to build a solid foundation for growth for you in the business. That's what we want to do. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. I need you to do me a favor. I need you to leave feedback. Go ahead to wherever you listen to the podcast, or if you've read the book, Construction Millionaire Secrets. By the way, the website is back up and live again, thanks to those of you who contacted me. There's free downloads of the book as a PDF there available if you like. But anyways, I need you to leave feedback somewhere. Go to Apple and leave a review. Go to Google Play and leave a review. Anywhere that you can leave a review would be so helpful to me, and not only to me, but to others who need to hear the message as well. If you want to help other people, point them in the direction of where they can find the information that's going to help them move forward. I work real hard to make sure that this show adds value. It has to add massive value, or it's going to be a waste of time. If I don't add value, people won't listen. We know you're listening because we have thousands and thousands of people listening, downloading every single episode. I appreciate that. I would like just one of you this week to go and leave me a review. It would help so much, because everybody else in the world who's looking for guidance, inspiration, or thoughts and ideas, they need to be able to find this. They can only do that if you say, wave a little flag and say, hey, look over here. This is the information you need. If you're a forward-facing contractor who understands that the power is in your own hands to make the change you want happen, come and listen to this show. That'd be great. And by the way, you can also leave the feedback on YouTube, wherever you like. I'm happy to have it, and I appreciate it, and I thank you in advance. All right, coming up next, again, adding as much value as I can, we've got a new segment of the show now. It used to be called Storytime with Dom. It's now called Questions and Answers with Dom. What you do is, and you'll hear me say this in the segment there, is you leave a question for me and I'll answer it, and then you'll be featured here live on the podcast when I answer it for you. Let's get to that segment now. Thanks. Hi, I'm reading this question on behalf of Trey, who runs a cabinet shop in Utah. He left a question for us on the Facebook group. If you're not a member of the Facebook group, it's called Contractor Strategy Group. It's a free group, although you do have to be an owner to get in. You have to answer a couple questions. So if you're not a member of that, please join. But Trey left a question in there, and he actually got some great answers back. Here's his question. Does anyone have an employee handbook for SOPs, that means standard operating procedures, that I could take a peek at? So a whole bunch of answers came into him on the Facebook group, and I'm going to answer some things that didn't get answered here on the show. Thanks, Trey. Hi there. Welcome to Questions and Answers with Dom. We're answering a question that Trey posed in the Facebook group about employee handbook SOPs, and there were some great answers in there, but I wanted to answer the things that weren't dealt with, the things that you won't find if you Google employee handbook or SOP. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with the term, SOP stands for Standard Operating procedure. It's one of the simple systems that you try to put in place in your business so that everybody follows it. First part is having those simple systems. The second part is getting people to follow it. We'll deal with that in other episodes. But here's the things that you might not think about, and the things I want to add to the conversation that was already in the contractor strategy group. Number one, if you're going to build SOPs, standard operating procedures, or checklists, or ways to train the people in your company, keep everything on a shared drive. Now, it doesn't matter to me whether you use Google Drive or Dropbox or OneDrive. I like Google Drive because I can access it anywhere. It's the same of all the others. I just have all of my stuff on Google Drive. The reason I want you to keep that on a shared drive is because if it's on your hard drive, nobody else can access it. If you happen to be traveling to a meeting, nobody else can download it. And it's impossible to delegate if everything's on your hard drive. So keep all of your SOPs on a shared drive. That's number one. Number two, when you're creating an employee handbook, when you're creating the onboarding for a new employee, start with your company values. Now, some of you are rolling your eyes saying, oh, come on, Rubino, values? What are you talking about? Lucky Charms and marshmallow candy canes? No, values, your values, what you stand for, what you and your company stand for is the glue that holds together everything else in the business. All right. So if you have a company that stands for being super competitive, people need to know that so that they're super competitive. If you have a service first mentality as a human and as your business, then they need to know it's a service first mentality. If you don't tell me what the culture of the company is, I'm going to create my own. And that is creating problems for some of you out there, right? So what does your company stand for? By the way, shameless plug, absolutely crazy over the top. That's what we talk about in the book, my book called Construction Millionaire Secrets. In chapter 4, construction millionaires train everybody the same. And I learned this time and again in boardrooms, in construction trailers, on job sites, at muster stations, all over the place in construction, that the best construction companies train every single person the same. It doesn't matter what level they're coming into the company, they have to be trained the same. And it even came true to me, when I was a kid and I was working at a restaurant, I worked at this, decent steakhouse. Before I could be a waiter at the steakhouse, I had to do shifts in the dish pit before I could be a waiter, because they wanted you to understand the whole process of taking care of a customer really ends with that meal coming back to the back. And unless you were good in the dish pit, you couldn't become a waiter. And by the way, becoming a waiter was great because you got tips. And then, at Starbucks, you still have to spend some time at the counter understanding how to take care of customers, because that's what Starbucks does. So are you training everybody the same in your company? And are you starting that with a discussion or a reminder of what you stand for? If it's difficult to figure out what you stand for, please keep listening to the show or reach out to me. Happy to help with that. But you got to tell people what you stand for. As my ranching friends would always say, if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. And so if you don't drive the culture in your business, somebody else on your team will. And like I said, that might already be causing some of you problems right now. Number 3 for an employee handbook or SOP is keep it simple. When you have a system or a process or an SOP, you got to keep it simple. Boil it down to 4 or 5 key points. Let me give you an example. How we bake a cake. Now, I'm pretty sure nobody that's listening to this show has a cake baking company or a bakery or a coffee shop, but let me use this as an example, and then I'll do one that's more relevant for us. But how you bake a cake, I boiled it down to 7 steps. And by the way, I don't even know how to bake a cake other than this. These are just the 7 steps. I'll bet you could make it 5 steps if you needed to. So 4 or 5 points, here we go. Here's how to bake a cake. Number 1, check the calendar for cake flavor of the day. 2, pull cake mix from shelf. 3, arrange ingredients. 4, follow instructions on box. 5, bake the cake. 6, cut cake using pattern below. 7, arrange on tray and put on display. That's how we bake a cake at a company that bakes cakes for a living. All right. Well, let's do something that's a little more relevant to those of us in construction and trades. And I'm going to assume that you have a forklift. And if you don't worry. You can see what I'm saying here. How we do weekly maintenance on a forklift. So this particular SOP, standard operating procedure, is for our forklift operator. And he or she has to complete it from 7 till 7:10 every single day. Number 1, get the checklist from the foreman's bench. 2, follow checklist and complete. 3, any failed items, lock out forklift and report to foreman immediately. 4, for an all clear checklist, complete report and return to foreman. 5, begin pick orders. There you go. It's that simple. When you create an SOP, a standard operating procedure, the hard part is keeping it simple. And that's our job as owners. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed that little overview there. Trey, thank you so much for that question. I think it's a great one. And folks, I hope you got a lot of value from the answer. If you want to leave a question for me, please do so. Go to speakpipe.com/askdom and leave your question there. Now, you may have noticed this end of the episode piece changed because it used to be story time with Dom, where I told real stories about real people and real situations, what we were really doing about it. But I've told 300 of those stories now. And so now we're doing this where we're getting questions from you, the audience, and I look forward to hearing yours so that we can answer it as well. And then you can tell your family, hey, look, I was on a podcast. All right, folks, thanks for checking in. We'll talk to you soon.